back to another video. This is going to be about games that released on multiple platforms but came out on one system first, and you purchased it there, you played it there, but over time you identify it with that particular system even though it's a multi-platform title. It's a weird relationship that happens, like the Xbox 360 came out first, the PlayStation 3 didn't, and certain games released and developed for that Xbox 360, the first game being BioShock. When I played this game, the anticipation for this screamed next gen. This was that game that you knew you were moving from the OG Xbox generation to the Xbox 360 generation, and it was heavily marketed with the Xbox 360, partly because there was no PlayStation 3 at the time. They were taking their time. Next gen started when they said it did. Do you remember that one? Anyway, I played this game and it just identified itself with the Xbox 360, and over time, even though the sequels released on multiple different platforms, I just felt like, hey, I need to buy this for the Xbox 360 because it just feels like an Xbox game. It's a weird sort of thing that happens when you sit down and you play a game first. Now, usually games don't release like this. There are multiple systems in a generation and multi-platform games come out for all of them. But the Xbox 360 being the system out first, it got these de facto exclusives that help carry those IPs through each generation and keep them in the minds of gamers as being de facto exclusives. It's a weird relationship. It happens sometimes, but even to this day, when I think about BioShock, I think Xbox. I purchased the sequels on Xbox. Any other BioShock game that comes out in the future, if there's an Xbox, I'm probably going to buy it on the Xbox. It's weird, but it happens. I don't know why. Could be because of those things I talked about, like coming out first or marketing. But this is an example of one game that will forever skew Xbox for me. And what's really strange is I played the definitive edition of this on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, and I even played some of the older titles on the PlayStation 3 when they came out, but it just didn't feel right. It's weird because I know they're multi-platform, but they just felt like Xbox games. And another one of those games is something that screamed next gen, again on the Xbox 360, and again, a de facto exclusive because the other system wasn't out yet. Maybe that's key here, but I don't think so, because later on, I still find these games to be sort of exclusives to the Xbox and the Xbox ecosystem, and that's Mass Effect. This game was incredible, and it's one of those games that, again, like BioShock, you just felt like you were in a new generation. There were new ideas. The game was much deeper. It was just a large world to explore, something you couldn't do in the previous generation. And again, it was just a game that felt like it belonged on the Xbox. It was marketed on the Xbox. You knew every time they talked about it, they talked about the power of the Xbox 360 and things that they were able to do in the new generation that they couldn't do in the last generation. It just felt phenomenal on the Xbox. Now, you may have played the original Metal Gear game on the MSX or the original NES Nintendo Entertainment System, but the Metal Gear Solid franchise got its fame and prominence when it released on the PlayStation 1. Ever since then, this series has been one of those games that every gamer anywhere knows about. The characters, the story, the gameplay, the world, and each subsequent version of the Metal Gear Solid series skewed heavily towards the PlayStation. Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty was an absolute juggernaut when it released. I remember everyone running out to get Zone of the Enders because it came with a demo of Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. The game eventually came to the Xbox with Subsistence, which was a better version of Metal Gear Solid 2, but the game and the series will always be synonymous for me with PlayStation, so much so that, like the other aforementioned games, when I hear about a new Metal Gear Solid game or a rumor, I instantly know that it's going to skew PlayStation for me, even though the series, up until this point now, is primarily known as a multi-platform title. Way back when on the PlayStation 1, it solidified itself, and ever since then, I don't know, it just skews PlayStation for me. Probably one of the biggest examples of this for me is a game, again, that released primarily for the PlayStation 1 back in the day and is a major third-party game. We're even getting a brand new, well, kind of brand new, a remake of one of the games in the series coming up here real soon, and that game is, of course, Resident Evil. When this game released on the PlayStation 1, nobody had ever heard of survival horror, and it was an instant classic using pre-rendered backgrounds. That's how weak the original PlayStation 1 was. They wanted to do 3D, but they couldn't. They had the 3D character models in the pre-rendered backdrops that made the game just look absolutely incredible for the time, and that classic survival horror gameplay, it was just there was nothing like it at the time. It's a shame that we don't have those moments again when it comes to a brand new genre being born, but it was so essential to the early success of 3D gaming, even though it just was using 3D character models, and just the PlayStation 1 in general. Everyone was talking about this game. You had to have it. I don't know anybody that had a PlayStation that didn't have Resident Evil. And here we are all these years later. We've had the remakes of Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, and 3 coming up on Resident Evil 4 here, the remake. Everyone's talking about it. And this game just skews PlayStation for me, even though right now I know it's essentially going to be everywhere. So that's what I wanted to talk about. The really strange phenomenon of you identifying a game with a platform, even though the game is everywhere. It could be because of a multi-platform deal. It could be because the game came out on the system before other systems. But even today, I think that carries over with some people. It's a bit funny, it's a bit odd, but I don't think it's anything bad. Let me know if you agree or you disagree in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.